How's it going, everyone? This is your Astrology Horoscope for the weekend of February 10th and 11th, 2024. I'm astrologer Alex Skyles, and welcome to the Moon Base. Well, we're in a whole new cycle here. This new moon in Aquarius definitely shaking things up, as we all felt and as we all knew. And the moon's coming into Pisces this weekend. So right after this full moon, the moon's going to come into Pisces, and the vibe's going to change completely. And right when the moon comes into Pisces, we're going to start feeling the vibration become more sensitive and a little less frantic internally. But at the same time, there's still this kind of mental kind of unsettlingness with Mercury getting ready to, it's going to, as the moon comes into Pisces, it's going to square Jupiter. So, we have so many new ideas with this new moon. We have so many things that we want to do, things that we want to create, things that we want to manifest, and we see the bigger picture, right? I think, this is a very brilliant aspect. And this weekend, a lot of brilliant things can start to manifest. But when Mercury squares Jupiter, we want to really be able to narrow things in, right? When Mercury squares Jupiter like this, it's like we can see the bigger picture very clearly. And sometimes it's hard to see the little things in front of us in our environment, right? So Mercury, rules Gemini. Jupiter rules Sag. They're opposition. They oppose each other. So Gemini has this ability, and Mercury has this ability to just know what's right in front of them and narrow down and focus on the little things and focus on what's right in front of us, right? And Jupiter here can see the bigger picture, can see the evolution of things, and sometimes Gemini or Mercury doesn't really care too much about that. So when Mercury squares Jupiter like this, it can be hard to narrow things in and kind of focus on the details a little more, so we don't want to get trapped in the bigger picture of things, or we could just kind of have a stalemate, right? Of it feels hard to move forward. You can get stuck mentally here. So as much as we have the ability to see the bigger picture, we want to really do what we can to settle the energy so we can really focus on the little details that really get us to the bigger picture here. And then with this moon in Pisces, the vibe is changing with this moon in Pisces here, and then it will conjunct Saturn as well. So, a moon-Saturn transit can feel very heavy emotionally. At the same time, coming off of this new moon and coming off all this intense Aquarian energy, and now with Venus at 22 degrees and Mars at 27 degrees of Capricorn, I think there is this kind of sensitivity coming in this weekend, of okay, I need to really do what I can to settle all this electrical energy coming in here, and be able to channel that in a spiritual, creative way. But also not get too caught up in the emotions of things, or definitely when things feel a little heavy emotionally. We want to focus on our goals and focus on what's valuable in our life and focus on where we're headed and what we're building with Venus and Mars. This new moon is really shaking things up in our environments and in our personal lives and in the world. There's so much information coming out, and definitely I think information in our personal lives is being revealed that's helping us tap into a much more spiritual kind of place, but also be able to make that spiritual vibration much more physical. And so the emotions that are popping up this weekend with this moon in Pisces is giving us this kind of perspective of wanting to check out a little bit, and maybe that might be necessary, and the moon will sextile Uranus as well, or sextile Jupiter, while the moon is conjuncting Saturn. So there is this kind of support between Saturn and Jupiter and the moon here, where it is okay, we can find some comfort this weekend. We can take it a little easier this weekend, as long as we don't let the mental side of things overstimulate us. We can definitely become overstimulated this weekend with this Mercury squaring Jupiter. But the thing is when the moon sextiles over to Jupiter and comes off Saturn, Mercury comes off the square to Jupiter. So if, Pacific time around 6:30, 6:35, when the moon does sextile to Jupiter, that's when we're going to start feeling Saturday evening, Saturday night, the vibe kind of like morph into this. Okay, like we're coming down off of this electrical high, this Aquarian high, this mental high, that can be very overstimulating for some. Some may thrive in it. But we definitely want to tap into a comfortable spiritual kind of vibe this weekend. And that's a good thing because we've been going through a lot of Aquarian energy, definitely through these squares and this new moon. We want to channel some creativity this weekend, take a hike, meditate. Like this is definitely one of those weekends to do that, and we don't want to take the shadow side of Pisces with the moon here and go out drinking or doing drugs or whatever, we want to channel that into a positive spiritual place, and we don't want to overindulge in things, with this Mercury squaring Jupiter as well. So, like our beliefs and our opinions about the world and about, who we are changing so fast right now. Like there's just so many new things coming in and wow, I didn't know that. Like things that are challenging us to really find new ways and find new paths. It can be uncomfortable. It could be very unsettling for people with all this Aquarius energy, So this Pisces energy coming in this weekend is definitely giving us the opportunity to kind of settle it just for a brief moment. When the moon comes into Aries going into next week, it's going to be back to kicking ass, and it's go time. Then we can really start to activate this new moon energy. Once the moon comes out of Pisces, it'll conjunct Neptune going into the end of Sunday and going into Monday. So we definitely want to take a self-care kind of weekend here. We don't want to overdo things. We definitely want to express our ideas and express our opinions and also not be afraid to get stuck in or not be afraid to break mental patterns and habits where we do get stuck and where we get just kind of stuck in our beliefs in a very stubborn way with Mercury squaring Jupiter. Like we want to allow other people's opinions to kind of challenge, our where we're set in our ways with Mercury squaring Jupiter. And these fixed signs, it can get very stubborn this weekend. So when we feel that kind of stubborn mental energy come on, we want to tap into that moon in Pisces and that Saturn, moon-Saturn conjunction, making a sextile over to Jupiter, So there is this kind of conflicting energy of wanting to be very mentally stimulated and get caught up in our beliefs and our opinions and what's going on in the world. But I think the things that have come up through all this Aquarius energy and with this new moon in Aquarius this weekend, it could be like, all right, like I've had enough of that. Like I just need to get into my own spiritual place, and kind of get into that mode where it's just, it's just you and your environment and the outside world doesn't exist right now. It's okay this weekend to fall into that place and have a self-care weekend because we've gone through a lot the past couple of weeks, with relationships and definitely the shit going on in the world and our environment's changing really rapidly and, personal stuff being shaken up and, a whole new vibe with Pluto and Aquarius coming in here. So we've gone through so much. So I think definitely with this Pisces energy this weekend, we want to take some self-care, some spiritual self-care and tap into a much more calmer place, because things can get overstimulating with Mercury squaring Jupiter. Where else are we headed here on Sunday? So Mercury's coming to the second decan of Aquarius. And this moon, it'll sextile Uranus. So I definitely think like a lot of how things have shifted in our lives and in our personal lives, we can start having, new ideas that are coming from a spiritual place. Definitely with all this Aquarius energy. It's like we've gathered a lot of new information through this Aquarius transit, through this Aquarius season, So we want to be able to like take that information and apply it in a spiritual way, and not get too caught up in the emotions of the intensity that's going on. There's so much intense stuff, but like I think with the moon sextile Uranus like this, like we can definitely find new ways to channel some of this intensity in a creative and spiritual way this weekend. And this is very nice. Like we need a kind of a weekend like this where we could just kind of, take it easy, like we haven't had an opportunity like this for a couple weeks to tap into that spiritual creative place. So this moon sextile Uranus is definitely giving us this kind of like bolt and like inspiration, creatively and spiritually this weekend. I think this is exciting. Like can be very exciting if you're willing to channel the intensity in a positive way, and not get caught up in the Mercury square Jupiter where you're just wanting to impose your beliefs and your will upon people stubbornly. It's like channel that in a spiritual way for yourself, because it can be very healing. This can be a very healing weekend with the moon in Pisces touching Saturn and getting ready to touch Neptune. So yeah, we need this, and then coming into Sunday evening, the moon will sextile over to Venus. So I think, there is some really nice support coming in here with our relationships, and definitely where like our values are concerned spiritually. Like we need this kind of healing here. This is kind of what we've been missing the past few weeks. It's been so intense and we've been on this wild ride. Thank God for the moon in Pisces this weekend, allowing us a chance to just kind of check out for a bit. So this can be a very loving weekend, and I definitely think with the moon sextiling Venus that, this intensity can be channeled in a positive way. And definitely the moon will sextile Mars after that in Capricorn. And, it's giving us the ability to kind of act on that and take our creativity and our spirituality and put it in a positive direction, And we don't want to, like I said, we don't want to get caught up in the shadow of Pisces here and go the other way, because this is an opportunity to really strike some spiritual and creative inspiration and, harness some really powerful ideas in a beautiful way. This can be a very beautiful weekend, but also challenging. And I think what's important, and one of the most important things going into next week, is now. This is something we've also been building towards and looking forward to. Is this Mercury or this Chiron North Node conjunction? So this is where the real healing begins. Individually, there's been so much stuff going on in the collective, and it's wild, it's crazy, it's definitely challenging our beliefs and our opinions about things and changing how we feel and think about the world and the collective. But as individuals, this is where the healing begins. I think our ego and our identities and how we identify with ourselves and what we identify with this Chiron and Aries has gone through so much shit, right? It's gone through way, 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 way a lot. So now here at 16 degrees, Chiron in the North Node, I think karmic situations are going to start popping up in our lives where we can see the healing start to take place as long as we've been doing the work. There isn't really any hard aspects to Chiron in the North Node. We've already gone through Venus and Mars and Mercury and the Sun squaring Chiron in the North Node. So thank God that we're having this conjunction already moving through the difficulty. Now the healing can really start to take place and we can identify what the wounds really truly are. And this is going to be ongoing for the next couple weeks here, of revealing that and what that is. And, I think what it's about is being able to identify where our selves have been lost, whether it's in wild, weird relationship stuff with the South Node in Libra and different kind of strange codependent situations where we've lost our identity, where we sacrificed our identity, or where the matrix programming has confused our identities, which we've seen a lot come up with Chiron and Aries. You know, I mean, I don't need to go into too much of that, but you know, we've seen where like the programming from the collective, well, not from the collective, but from the matrix system has really confused a lot of what our identities are as individual people and our roles here. Aries is all about our roles. It's all about our ego and what we identify with, the costume that we wear, right? It's where we kind of, you know, take on multiple different layers and versions of ourselves. And we definitely felt that when the nodes squared Pluto last year. So this is the moment when we can start to see the healing unravel in a positive way. You know, these nodes are out of these difficult squares to all the Capricorn planets. And I'm glad that this conjunction is happening after we come out of these squares, because this is, you know, we've learned, we've got the message, you know. We've taken action towards activating that healing and identifying where we're debilitated and where we're wounded, you know. And we see the value of actually putting in the work. That's what Venus and Capricorn is. It's like, what, you know, like, where is the actual value in the work that we do and the effort that we put in towards our destiny, you know? And I think right now it's like really getting down to the nitty gritty of like ourselves. And yeah, this Chiron North Node conjunction does not happen often. So this is a very rare transit as well, as much as Pluto in Aquarius is rare. It's not as rare, but it's still a rare moment and a rare time. So even children being born right now, like with this conjunction, like they are coming out as healers, like, you know, and also with a lot of past life trauma and karmic issues, that they are coming into this life as healers, you know, to really heal people on an individual level. So, you know, in whatever role that you play on the spectrum of these nodes, whether you have Aries placements or Libra placements, wherever you exist on this polarity here, like you're going to start to see where your role exists in this phase of healing. So this is a very positive weekend. This is a very healing weekend, you know, to be able to tap into that spiritual place with this moon in Pisces and start to see this healing start to unravel in a very positive way. You know, we've gone through all the squares to Chiron in the North Node here, at least at the beginning of 2024. So we definitely want to take the opportunity this weekend for ourselves and for some self-care, because like, man, these Aquarius transits, it's a lot of energy. It can be overstimulating and it can be a lot on the nervous system. So, you know, and don't fall into the Neptune, the Pisces trap of just like, hey, I'm going to go out and just overindulge in things that do not serve me in my well-being. So I got the Ace of Swords for this weekend. So, you know, it's like we want to take our power back, and definitely like we can experience some kinds of, you know, power turning back on within us that's coming out of nowhere, you know, and we can be rewarded, but the reward only comes from getting down to like the difficult things and where we're wounded and where we need to heal. I think that's where the rewards are coming into this weekend, and things can really pop out of nowhere, you know, new and exciting things. You know, we're still in this phase of this new moon here over the next 15 days. So, you know, I think this weekend we're being called to really focus on a more healing, the more healing aspects of our personal lives. You know, there's been so much going on in the collective, you know, with all these Aquarius transits. This weekend, things start to go more inward, more personal. And I think if we're willing to take that step and not get too fixated on all the wild shit going on, I think we can be rewarded, and things can, like, really healthy things can come out of nowhere that can really help us cut through the bullshit in our own lives and what's going on in the world and where we're held back. I think this is a moment where we really need to focus on ourselves this weekend and for the next few weeks going into the full moon in Virgo, because this Karma and North Node conjunction is kind of bringing the energy back to ourselves. So don't be afraid to step a little inward this weekend. I think with Mercury squaring Jupiter, there can be some challenging conversations with police and information that's coming out. Like there's a lot of shit coming out, a lot of information starting to pop up. So with this weekend, even with what's going on in the world, give yourself some time this weekend and some love. And don't be afraid to just kind of turn off the phones, turn off the TVs, and just be excited about where you're at, and reflect. I think, the moon in Pisces is always a great time to reflect and meditate, because when the moon comes back into Aries, the fire is lit. So this is a great weekend. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. If you're new here, subscribe to this channel, share this video, find me on Instagram, Spotify, the TikTok. If you want to book a reading with me, my Pluto and Aquarius sale is still going on, but only for March, because February totally booked, and I'm going to leave up the Pluto and Aquarius sale for people until February 19th for people who want to book, but it will book for March because February is pretty much, it's all booked. So the links to all of my platforms and my booking website is in the description of this video. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you guys on Monday. Oh, I'm going to be at Conscious Life Expo this weekend. So if you're there, let me know. I'll be there with my friend Evan, who I'll be filming, and he's doing a wonderful talk, a wonderful keynote on some amazing things. He's a great astrologer, a great friend. So if you're there, hit me up. I just did an awesome podcast with my friend Gabriella, so that's going to be coming out next week, so look forward to that. So I hope you guys have a great weekend and take some time for yourself this weekend, because we've been going through a lot of energy. So peace out and take care.